The following audio was originally recorded live and broadcast through the facilities of Trent Radio on February 23rd, 2020. I'm Justin Evangelo. This is Disenabled, the show where we enable people with physical disabilities. So happy as always to be back behind the mic as I adjusted slightly here. Now it sounds about equal on both earbuds. Perfect. So happy as always to be back behind the mic. Today I'm joined by a friend of a friend, if one can accurately call it that. Her name's Nafisah. She's been working on computers since she was 11, for almost 20 years now. Sorry if she didn't want her age disclosed on air. Thereabouts. Apologies. And she now works for the Helen Keller Centre. So I will let her talk about her personal physical disability, what her job experience is like, and a little bit of resilience if the conversation goes in that direction. So, Nafisah, so happy to have you on today. Fingers crossed the audio is coming in clear here.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, perfect. We're over FaceTime, so it's a lot clearer than a regular phone line. This is amazing. So, as always, like I start with every guest I have usually, if they do have a physical disability, what is your physical disability?
Well, I just want to start off by saying thank you for having me on the air and hello to everybody. I hope you guys are staying dry in this really messed up weather. So, to get right into it, I am totally blind. Visually impaired, completely visually impaired, whatever the politically correct term is. I'm not politically correct, so let's move on.
And how did you come to lose all of your sight?
I actually lost my sight. I pretty much lost it since I was 4 months old because my eye condition is retinoblastoma. So I was born with tumors and the tumors were spreading too quickly. So when I was 4 months old, they had to remove both eyes to prevent the tumors from spreading to the optic nerve.
Yep, that sounds more or less like my case, sadly. And we're beating the odds here because the odds of an infant having retinoblastoma are slim, and those who do unfortunately get it, well, have some challenges to navigate, both in fighting the cancer, having to endure the treatment, and then dealing with the repercussions as they adapt to not having either any sight or limited sight, because unfortunately the cancer does take a good chunk of it.
Yes, it does.
Sadly. So as I stated before, your position is your employer, I should start with, is the Helen Keller Centre. Now, what is your official job title at the center?
My official job title is an assistive technology instructor, but I call myself the everything instructor because I also teach Braille and cooking classes.
And who specifically are your clientele? Are they fully blind individuals with limited sight loss, so low vision, legally blind?
Most of my clients, well, right now with the Helen Keller Centre, my clients are deaf blind, so they have the dual sensory loss for hearing and vision. I have in the past, worked with people who are legally blind or low vision. But with them, it's been more, I don't work too much on technology with them because of the magnification and other things like that, which I'm not able to do. And if I'm not able to do it, they're not going to get any benefit by working with me if I can't tell them to look in the right hand corner of
Yeah, right.
the screen. So I don't teach them technology. We will more work on cooking classes and things like that, independent living skills.
Terrific. So with your deaf-blind clientele, your job mostly revolves around, in that instance, technological assistance. Is that correct?
Yes, but with them, I do also teach cooking and Braille. So not the clients that I do have with the Helen Keller Centre are not completely hearing impaired or completely vision impaired. They do still have some residual hearing or some residual vision or both left. So they can still communicate the way that I'm speaking with you. We don't always need interveners for classes. And it depends what they need to work on. I even have some low vision clients who are learning Braille.
Terrific. That's always refreshing to hear.
Yeah, and because they're losing their vision. So they want to start now before, all hell breaks loose kind of thing.
Sadly, no, that's very interesting because my last week's guest, Gary Williamson, he had a degeneration, and actually it was 2 weeks ago now. I'm losing track of time here, sadly, and aren't we all? Yeah. And he wanted to prepare for something like that where he knew he was going to lose his sight before, and so tried to prepare himself by equipping himself with certain life skills that most fully able-bodied people take for granted. How did these individuals, your main base of your clientele who you assist, how do they go about registering for your assistance at the it's at their house, but through the Helen Keller Centre?
So they need to they need to register with the Helen Keller Centre directly. And depending what services they require or what lessons they would like to receive, that's when I come in. Now, however, if I met somebody who was deafblind and whom I know will qualify for these services, I could definitely make a referral to my supervisor, but they still have to go through the official registration process with the Helen Keller Centre directly.
Right. So there has to be a discernible digital or paper trail in order to prove that they have jumped through all the necessary hoops in order to actually qualify correctly.
They need hearing reports, vision reports, the whole nine.
Right. And even though it's a pain, at least there is a structured way of going about that.
Yes. Yep.
Let's start at the beginning then. Let's get super duper personal with you.
Okay.
What drew you to digital technology, computers, learning about them at such a young age, as young as 11, at least from what Gary told me? If you can back that up, that would be terrific. It's hearsay, scuttlebutt, whatever you want to call it. But what drew you to them?
So I guess, I guess I would say that when I was in elementary school, I was in grade 6 at the time. I can't remember. It was quite a few years ago. I can't remember if I got my equipment before I started school, so in the summer, or after I started school. But I had been encouraged by members of the school board, people from W. Ross, that I should start getting into learning computers and Braille devices. Well, the only Braille device I knew of was that big war tank of a Perkins Brailler.
I have one of those right on my desk.
Oh yeah, that dude is pretty heavy. But,
it is.
I mean, other than that, I went for my first assessment. I ended up getting an Apple IIe, which was a monstrosity of a computer. I got some sort of embosser. I think it was a Braille Blazer or Blazer. I don't even know what it was, but I was just encouraged to start using those devices. my most favorite toy to play with was the what is it called? Braille Light 2000. Braille Light 2000. And that was my very first note taker. And I started to realize, I could take this anywhere. I don't necessarily need the Perkins Brailler all the time. I could type my notes on it in Braille, and I could read them in Braille. I could read books in Braille, all from this little device. So I started getting more familiar with the Braille devices, with the computer programs. That led to getting Windows computers and running JAWS for Windows as a screen reader, learning how to use Duxbury, the Braille translation program. I could Braille my own books. I could Braille my own whatever I wanted to, actually. And I didn't need the Perkins. I didn't have to sit there and do everything by hand. It was great.
Yeah, it's like going from a typewriter literally to a computer, which more or less is, I think it's a comparable comparison, because the people always call those hulks of Perkins Braillers typewriters anyway, right?
Exactly. And then from there, it persisted into high school, where for the majority of high school, except grade 12, I would receive all of my books in Braille. And for French and math, that was very useful. But then I started to discover, you know what? I could just get the books from the library for my English class and listen to them on cassette tape. Like, I don't need to sit here reading this boring book that I really don't care about. Like Lord of the Flies. I mean, that was completely not interesting.
Oh, I can agree with that. My God, I hated that book. Anyway.
It was just like, okay, what's the point?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just slowly, I never shied away from Braille, but I realized that, there are other options that I need to explore, and Braille is the best option, yes. But it is not the best option in all cases, especially where you have books on a computer, or you've got books that you could just put on your note taker and read them while you're like traveling on the bus or the train or something like that. You don't need to carry 5 or 6 Braille volumes.
That can get quite cumbersome. The practicality aspect is definitely indisputable. Particularly for me, I love to sit down with a Braille book, but packing my suitcase or my backpack on a road trip full of the volumes is such a pain in the you-know-what.
Yes.
And with those note takers, which are slowly evolving, they come out with a new generation once every couple of years, which is a good thing. And apparently they're getting better and better. I haven't personally used one ever. I tried one out. It just wasn't for me. So to each their own. But from a practical aspect, that's terrific that you made that exploration and it worked out for you. So it sounds like you were never not receptive to learning about technology. You were encouraged to, and you took that encouragement and ran with it.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I like you, enjoy having a nice big Braille book that's like thousands of pages long. It's great for when you're in one spot and you want to just chill, you want to relax, maybe you want to lie in your bed with the book on your tummy. I mean, I've done all of that and it's great. But as you said, practically, it's just not practical. It's practically impractical.
There's your philosophical quote for the day.
Yes.
Oh, man. Did you receive any specific computing certifications in order to get your post at the Helen Keller Centre then, jumping ahead?
I did not, no. When I attended Mohawk College, for my certification to become an instructor for the blind and visually impaired, there was a technological component to it, but it wasn't like it was part of the program. It wasn't separated in any way, shape, or form.
Did you have a previous position with any other organization for the blind, low vision, legally blind before you came to Helen Keller?
Not a full-time position. I have worked in the past with different organizations as an ADP trainer. So ADP, the Assistive Devices Program. I do provide training for two clients who receive equipment from that program. Under the sight substitution category. Not that I'm advertising myself. I'm not.
Hey, that's encouraged on this show, but no, do it shamelessly. I appreciate that.
No, I do provide that training, and I have provided it in the past, which is sort of what led me to the Helen Keller Centre.
Terrific. Do clients, whether it be with your old position or new, providing the training that you did, or now providing the assistance you do now, how are they receptive, or do they treat you like crap when you show up and try to help them, or is it a mixed bag of experiences?
To be honest, I would say it's a mixed bag of experiences, but it really depends on external circumstances. It's not so much with, anything that's directly related to me or that I've caused or I created or anything. It's mostly to do with, maybe they're not having the greatest day, or maybe their spouse is not well and they have to look after their spouse. And, all of those things compound on each other, and the whole situation, when it's combined, it's not a very pleasant experience for anybody.
This is true, sadly, but you get that in any sort of working environment, yes. Right?
For sure.
Especially in retail. My God, the horror stories I've heard.
Well, if I had the chance, I would love to work. I would love to work in a restaurant. But that's an idea for another day.
Yeah, that would be. I'd definitely interview you about that.
You know what? If I ever get to that stage, then sure, I will. I'll say, "Hey, Justin, come on down. It's on the house." Whatever that means.
One of these days, you never know. Never say never.
That is true.
On the good days, bad days, all of your hard work and achievements that have gotten you here through your trials and errors, and you're overcoming your physical disability, which you personally take for granted because you've never remembered anything different. Some people don't seem to understand that. What's kept you motivated in terms of trying to not exactly keep pace with your peers or, be like everybody else, but to achieve the goals that you set out to? Is there any sort of key factor or factors that have kept your feet hitting the floor?
Oh,
sorry to hit you with a big question there.
That's a good one. I will start to answer this question by saying that I enjoy philosophy to an extent. I do enjoy a lot of personal development kind of stuff, goal setting and all that good stuff. But it does it does get very difficult at times, as I'm sure it is for the case for everybody. What really keeps me motivated are a few things, but one of the main ones is, helping somebody with something or teaching somebody something they may not have known before, helping someone to do something that they really could not figure out or accomplish on their own. even just making a silly joke that causes somebody to laugh, and they say something like, "Oh, you know what? That just made my day. That was amazing. That will carry me through this whole day." Little things like that really motivate me, no matter what mood I'm in. And working with the Helen Keller Centre, even just before I got here, I had another client who got her internet transferred to another service provider, and things weren't properly set up because all of a sudden her email didn't work, and this didn't work, and that didn't work. So I took control of her computer, and I basically said, okay, well, if we hit the get mail button, that should force the computer to retrieve all your emails since Sunday. And secondly, your inbox is offline, so let's hit the offline button and force that to go online.
Yeah.
And luckily it worked.
Oh, good.
Now, sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes I have to jump through a few hoops to, sort things out for somebody. But, as long as I do and they're satisfied, they're happy, I've done something. I've done something useful. And that's what really gets me through my day.
Terrific. I really like that because, again, it's not like you're striving to be someone who is quote unquote normal, but if you can go into a profession and try and achieve your goals, something like that, and want to go into a workspace, whether it be a client's home or into the office, and make their experience as pleasant as possible. That's what anybody could hope for from a positive customer service rep. And in a sense, that's what you are. You're delivering a service. And if you can enjoy it with your client or whoever you may be helping, that's absolutely the key goal, I think. I don't know how to put it any better than that.
Well, if I could just actually add something, you asked me before, sometimes I've gone to clients and it's been a really miserable experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what tends to happen, and again, it happens with everybody, no matter what position they may be in, but sometimes it can almost be a little bit frustrating, dare I say, irritating at times, if you are trying to get something through to someone and they're just not listening to you. Their thought pattern it's just set. It's like
right.
It's almost like a self-destructive kind of phenomenon where it's just set on that one channel, and no matter how much you try and turn the dial to tune it off of that station, it just won't go. And that's sometimes a situation that I face, is I'll be trying to explain something in a myriad of ways, using almost every analogy I can think of, and it just doesn't get through. Okay, what do I do? What else should I say? So sometimes I just have to say, you know what? Let's leave this for now. I will call you back later and we'll talk about it.
Well, it's good to go in with the mindset and never to, give up on somebody, no matter how stubborn-minded or, strong-headed they may be. Terrific stuff, Nafisah. It's really been a pleasure to speak to you about this, and hopefully somebody can take something away from this and learn a little bit more about Helen Keller Centre. There are some websites that you can check out on the web for them if you're interested in learning more about the centre itself, or if you want to see if you are eligible to apply. So thank you so much, Nafisah Anif, everybody. Terrific stuff. And I look forward to that restaurant interview if that ever comes about.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on, and I hope everyone, take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Nafisah, if you're listening to this, thank you once again for that conversation. It's been a few years since it took place. The restaurant business is still in progress. Wink, wink. Still looking forward to that. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it around. I've linked some resources about the Helen Keller Centre, both the American headquarters and the Canadian outfit that Nafisah works for, so give it a look-see. All of the resources will be linked in the episode's description, both on all major listening platforms and the Disabled YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this podcast as a whole, I know it's been a while since I last posted. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. Do the same if you so desire with the Disabled YouTube channel as well. Thumbs up, share, and subscribe to the channel. I post podcast clips and some soon-to-be exclusive disability-based content there as well. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Until next time. Cheers.